What's up, y'all? We are the Planetary People, and my name is Trevor Brown, and these fine gentlemen below, above, and to the left of me are the other people. Anyway, so...
That's clever.
Yeah, I'm going for it, bro. Basically, what we've been doing is that we've been all stuck at home, so we've been trying to figure out ways we can all still collaborate conducively in this COVID time. So we came up with the idea of the Co Vid videos, which is basically just 1 to 2 minute type of original song snippets that we come up with. And basically one of us presents an initial idea that we eventually develop as a group. For this week, we have our man, the myth, the legend, Jim Piella, our saxophonist,
JP,
who came up with the initial idea. So Jim, how are you?
Take it away, Jim.
I'm great, Trevor. Thank you for asking. Yeah, so when we first started working on this, I'm gonna be honest, I was a little bit terrified and working with DAWs or digital audio workstations. I am not good at that. I have the original Sibelius file as a PDF here.
What are those black little lines, dude?
So this is what I started with. I was looking actually if I wrote anything by hand. I usually do. This was definitely a learning experience for me. But yeah, I think it ended up sounding pretty cool. So I'm gonna play the original. Get rid of this, unless
No, keep that up, dude, because I actually showing where the beat is kind of half the coolness of your tune.
If you're following along at home, this is not in the right key. So sorry.
What a fucking loser.
You got your ukuleles at home and you're trying to play.
Yeah, right.
Hey.
I think we get the idea, yeah? I don't know if we need to listen to any more of that.
Yeah. So with your writing style, what was the initial idea for this that spawned I guess the entire song, entire vibe, if you will?
Yeah, it was definitely this top melody part in the saxophone. It's basically ascending fifths with some variations off put metrically, as you can see over here.
It's a dotted eighth implied thing, but it starts on beat 2, which makes beat 2 feel like the 1.
Right.
It's pretty crazy.
Josh was the first one to rip some nasty shit on this, and really kind of, dude, you kind of shaped the whole thing.
Yeah, well, because yours was different from the other one. So up until this point, all the other tunes were started by Mike on an OP1, which are all loop based. So 4/4 and like ostinato based, I guess.
Yeah.
And yours is like this angular offset rhythmic thing. So I was like, I think I can make sense of this before we send it to the rest of the band. And then I stole a ton of Vinnie Colaiuta drumming.
Do we want to hear some of this solo drum?
Specifically from Frank Zappa. Yeah,
this ended up being slick as hell.
I wanted to make it feel like it was a shuffle.
Yeah, it ended up being awesome. And when you compare it to like where the bass line is sitting, for example, I mean, that's definitely this kind of moving target almost. It's really nice. So yeah, I relied on you guys a lot to help me out with this process. And that's usually how I write and usually how we write as a band is like come up with an idea, come up with a concept, bring it in, and we all kind of add our own spice to it.
Yeah, that's a good example too. Typically we take something that's too complicated and we try and make it feel comfortable enough on its own, so that way it works just enough.
Yeah.
Like this is a displaced metric modulation that I'm leaning into enough to make it feel like there's a groove there, but then once it hits the bridge, we just backshift to where the actual beat is.
But that's the thing, is like it doesn't feel like it's like a very heady type of music as far as like this song.
That's
like,
the magic of Vinny, man.
Yeah. Or I mean, you played the fucking thing, so I don't.
I stole it. I stole it.
Okay, whatever.
I mean,
Uh,
I stole the concept.
but anyway, I was trying to give compliments to everyone, but apparently that's
Oh, go ahead, Trev.
No, you guys did shit.
That never
dude.
works, Trevor.
Yeah. That's kind of like the way that I like to write, especially with this band or whatever. To come up with parts is like make it super listenable. And
It was the hope that this was difficult in a fun and engaging and entertaining way instead of being hard for the sake of hard. So we should talk,
Preach.
Mike. We should talk about this. This is all Mike.
Oh God.
Mike
damn.
Mike went bonkers here.
I was thinking a lot about what we were just talking about because had sort of a very angular thing, and I was like, okay, how can we make this in the planetary zone of like silliness, retro, video game, sci-fi?
I would just want to solo out a few of these. Here's the
oh baby,
blast from the past, and then
Well done.
oh, you put that on the same line. All right. Yeah, and I think it ends up working out really well, and it's kind of our vibe. It's kind of our style where we're each adding what we love about this sort of stuff into the thing. And I couldn't be happier with how this thing ended up and turned out. Does anybody else want to talk about their parts or?
Mark rocked out. I'll say that.
You know, originally I did a bunch of versions of playing the line, and I was like,
The
I kept
sax line?
thinking like, you know what I want to, of the saxophone line. And it's like there's no harmony going on at all. So I was just like power chords,
Yeah.
which is pretty much my go-to
That's what I
for
did on
any
the bridge, too.
problem.
Yeah, the bridge is just all
It's literally Mark and me just hammering out roots.
perfect though, because I have like a stack and like a chop cymbal. It's like totally gent.
I've played so many different qualities of triads and sus chords, trying to get the bass motion to sound heavy without like playing power chords, and I just there was no other option.
It was like,
besides.
nope.
What's funny is that like your intellectual mind can kind of get in the way sometimes of like what actually needs to be fucking played. Like all that needed to be done in this situation is just power chords, and yet I'm saying that because I know the feeling of like having
Trying to
your
squeeze it
intellectual
in.
brain tell you something else rather than like what you're feeling is completely different.
Anybody have last words for this week?
Good job, team.
Nice job, dude.
I'll say teamwork don't seem work. That's my last word.
We are the Planetary People. If you like what you heard, consider subscribing, and you will see this stuff all the time. If you didn't like what you heard, I'm sorry. I don't know how you got this far into the video, but you know that's cool too. So we'll see you again. Stay tuned. We got more coming at you.